Sam, good to see you this morning. You don't need any introduction. I feel a little bit like this is a little bit of a deja vu as I run for mayor again this year. And before you came to the studio, you were at new USDA facility, which very appropriately was named after you, and that kind of takes me back to the past when that's something you were talking about when I was mayor, and so it was certainly great to see that come to fruition amongst a few other things we had the chance to work on.
Well, Dennis, thank you for inviting me because just that building alone, it took many years, but it really took leadership. And the reason I'm here, I mean, that was a $110 million building, and that money was spent in Salinas. So it's a big economic asset to have it, and it's going to be world renowned and attract scientists, ag scientists from all over the world to come here. So, and the reason I'm here to support you for your reelection to the mayorship is that I've experienced your ability to provide leadership. You can't get things done without leadership. And leadership is an advocacy, but it's also getting along, and it's connecting dots, and you really have to be, you have to know where all those dots are. And your knowledge of the city, not only from the private sector, but also from the public sector of having been mayor and really understanding the public side. Because as business knows, without political support, business can't be successful. And big corporations will always tell you, ask you what's your relation with government, and the infrastructure of this great valley and Salinas is public infrastructure. And what you have here is what no other communities have. You have a major rail line right through here. Amtrak is bringing 2 trains a day. I just met with some people standing next to the station in the welcoming center who had no idea that Amtrak came through Salinas, and they lived here in Salinas. So the point is that Amtrak's bringing millions of people, and you right to the center of town. Then you've got an airport here, and you have world-renowned, rodeo grounds and performances and air shows and all kinds of stuff, and world-renowned agriculture. So to really build a successful future for Salinas, it takes somebody not just with the desire to be mayor, but with the experience to be mayor. And you have that.
Well, and I appreciate that, and I was just jotting down some notes because everything you talked about really speaks to the foundations of the past, but are going to serve also for the foundations of the future. I do want to go back to the USDA facility, but I love your comment when we were chatting a couple weeks ago that we really should be looking at the train station, and once we get connectivity with the Bay Area, it becomes for us our new airport. It really opens up the outside world in a really unique way.
It's not just the airport for Salinas; it's the airport for Monterey County, in a sense of surface airport. I mean, when the congestion going to San Francisco, and I went every week to get on a plane in the San Francisco airport, and leaving at 4 a.m, it was already congested around Gilroy, because the freeway goes, from it shrinks lanes there, and so there's always, no matter what time of day, there's congestion. And what we worry about upstream in San Benito County has all kinds of, under existing leadership, is going to build the hell out of it and create that Corridor 101 will just be impossible to get through. So, and air service is not practical because of the short distance, and maybe with Joby Aviation that'll be more appropriate. But the real secret or the real solution to this is the train line. And Caltrain's bringing their train. That's like California. That's the part. Caltrans runs Caltrain, and they lease the tracks just like Amtrak does from the train, the railroad company. And you're coming to this historical station here, and the Monterey Peninsula people will have to come for the first time to Salinas. And where do they come? They're coming to downtown, and they're going to be trains. They're going to be late. They're going to be getting off the train. They say, well, let's have dinner here, or let's have breakfast in the morning before we get on the train. I mean, you have great opportunities to develop small businesses with the inflow and outflow of passengers at that train station, and the city owns it. So you're in a great position to really create that as an economic viable center. And I've watched you take ideas. I mean, when we're doing the gang task force of, Salinas needing some money because you had extra difficult problems. And with your leadership, we linked up the Naval Postgraduate School professors over there who are looking at sort of gang problems in other countries.
Yeah, no, we had the group that was actually doing the surge in Iraq and Afghanistan, and in fact, it was not amusing, but sometimes they would be, we'll be back in 3 weeks to pick this up. So it was literally that group.
Well, the professors wrote a book on it.
No, I know they did. Gangs and Guerrillas. I still have it.
And you were instrumental in getting that all done. And I mean, that's the kind of leadership it's I've been in elective office for 43 years at the local, state, and federal office. I've seen it all. And it really takes people that are driving, have a passion for vision and have a passion for what we could be. And what I loved, you're always talking about Salinas could be much more than it thinks it can be. And that's the kind of people we need in elective office. We need people with exciting visions. Not just, we got a lot of problems. Yes, yeah, everybody has problems, and the problems can be solved when you have leadership. And a lot of those are economic issues, and I think that's where the government here, particularly. I mean, Salinas has tons of public employees, state employees, and a lot of federal employees, county employees. You're the county seat. I think we could do a lot more to restore downtown and getting rentals by state and federal agencies down here rather than out on the fringes of town. And then you bring that workforce in here, and you've got more restaurants booming and more activity on Main Street. It can be one of the most exciting towns in California with good leadership.
No, I agree. I do want to go back to where you started your today at the USDA facility. To your point, and I like the phrase public infrastructure, because that vision and those efforts on your part really are going to yield results for decades to come. Because one of the things, and I was pleased that I was able to continue the work I started as mayor in terms of trying to create the ag tech ecosystem. Yeah. And just this past summer, for the second year in a row, we had the Salinas Biological Summit downtown. We worked closely with Karen Ross, our secretary of Ag in California, but we also, Jenny Moffitt from the USDA came in and also spoke. And we had over 400 people from 10 different countries. And they want to come to Salinas because of the reputation of the valley. I think most people, they know we're the salad bowl of the world, but we are a global destination when it comes to the future of specialty crop ag. And that building, that facility, really helps cement that, because when you have that type of facility and the caliber of personnel you're going to have, you're a destination.
Well, what I saw when I got into Congress, because I didn't even know about it, but I was always interested in agriculture, but I looked around at all the federal facilities and federal jobs that were around here. We have an FBI office that was in Watsonville, and I didn't know why we needed the FBI here, and found out that we have a lot of issues with banks and stuff like that. Very interesting stuff. We also have some, because of all the trucking, a lot of illegal activity that comes in through the trucking industry. So the FBI is here to look at that, to monitor that. And then I got looking around at all the other offices and found that we had the Ag Research Station, and I went to visit it, and it was old Quonset huts that were built during World War II. And they were telling me they had a hard time attracting the science. The ag science was here, but the professionals wouldn't come here because the building was so outdated that it couldn't house the equipment they needed. They couldn't have the infrastructure of certain temperatures and stabilities and things like that. So I said, we got to turn this into a first-rate agriculture research service. They were here, so it was just building them a new building. And it was going to be done in phases. And finally, I kept bugging them, and they did the whole thing at $110 million. And it was interesting because, again, about working in leadership, which is what you're so good at. After I left Congress, an ag staffer who was a Republican on the Ag Appropriations Committee suggested, for all the hard work that I'd done on the building, why don't we name it after Sam? So I was totally shocked and delighted because I knew how much work I put into it. But the point is I brought veteran centers and other healthcare centers and other things, the university, and I've always been on the cutting edge of what can be, what we can do. Take what we have here and build it better. And that's why I'm serious about this. I think you've demonstrated over and over again, not necessarily recognized for it, but you have that passion, which I think you have to have, a fire in the belly. Talking to Claiborne Pell, who was a great senator, and I asked him, why are you retiring? He said, I've lost the fire in the belly. And you have that fire in the belly, and you need that to be an effective leader. Being the mayor of a city is like being captain of a ship. You've got to have the skills to know how to steer it, but you've got to have a vision of how to reach a new horizon, and you have that.
Well, and I appreciate that. One of the themes that I'm really trying to develop is we need to get Salinas ready for the future, and we're not alone in that. But one of the things I'm concerned about, and I really appreciate what you're, in terms of looking what we have in front of us. There's a Jonathan Swift, Gulliver's Travel. The trick is to, see the vision through the fog, and you can drive by the train station every day, but you may not see the vision through the familiar. And so the way you've laid that out, I think it's so important for us to understand. Ag tech is a global game, but we have opportunities, whether it's the train station. To me, the Steinbeck Center is one of the most underutilized opportunities we have in our community. When you're the home of a noble, one of 6 North America's literary Nobel laureates, that's an opportunity.
Well, look at it. We're here on Main Street, and what other town has 3 historic theaters, big, wonderful,
right,
classic theaters on Main Street? It's such a short Main Street. With some vision here, and we're working with Hartnell's drama department and others,
right,
PAC rep on the Monterey Peninsula, you could turn this town into a theater town. Sure, it's not just movies. You could use those stages and
right,
that seating for all kinds of other activities that are just really classic. And frankly, there's a lot of interest in restoring theaters like that.
right, right.
So there's money out there, private sector money that would be involved. But you have to have the vision, you have to have the organization, but underlined, you have to have the city's support. The city has to want to do these things, and then the city has to commit. And what struck me, I on our 50th wedding anniversary, we went to visit some friends in Seattle, and we decided, hey, the train goes to Seattle, and I've been on an Amtrak, for a long time. And so we come over to Salinas, and we get here early, and we go to a restaurant at the end of Main Street. And, at 6 o'clock at night, we go over to the train station and get on the train, and a couple of people getting on with us. And we end up 24 hours later in getting off in Seattle. Salinas is Seattle. You never have to, it's just, and when I looked around the train station and looking at other trains as the train rolled through towns, I began realizing that other towns have just created, where you are. And now that I'm really involved in trying to promote Salinas, because I think the peninsula is being overrun. They're doing, the world knows about the Monterey Peninsula and knows about Big Sur Coast. And when we advertise it's sort of the Central Coast, but those local think, well, that's 3 counties, Santa Cruz, Monterey, and San Benito County. But the tourists think, oh, it's just the coast. So they go to the boardwalk in Santa Cruz, they go to Moss Landing, to Phil's, or the kayaks on Slough, and then they drive around to the wharf in Monterey, and then they go Cannery Row, and they go through 17-mile drive, and they see cutesy Carmel, and they drive down the coast. And that's where all the tourism is. And yet the history and the excitement for really new development, and people really want to see old California. There's no county bigger and better preserved because more history started here than any other county in California. And I'm trying to bring the tourists over here, and We just need a lot more support from the city. We've got, they own the building where the Welcome Center is, and you were very instrumental in getting that welcome. I mean, you beat Cannery Row. They were out lobbying heavily for that.
Right.
And it's in Salinas, it's right next to your train station. It's ideally located. And to me, that's a whole new, fresh economic opportunity for this city. Again, with your historical park, the Steinbeck Center, historical houses, the First Mayor, the Railroad Museum, they're all clustered right there. What an exciting thing to have to develop. And so, I mean, the other day I went over to the train station, and the Amtrak train was coming in, and I love trains, so I went out there and I was seeing people get off. Well, they had to delay the train for an hour because of a fire. So they people got off the train and they went into the Welcoming Center. I didn't know all this was here. Wow, this is a great place. It describes the entire history of Salinas and Salinas Valley. At the same time, the station just has a little tiny sign. So I went back the other day to the Welcome Center, and then I walked around the station, and the Amtrak train came in, and all you could see was a homeless person sleeping on a bench with a sign behind it, Salinas. I mean, you don't know what Salinas is. You don't know that it's the salad bowl capital of the world.
Right.
So the point is, just with a little bit of fresh paint and some creative thinking, you could make that area so that people on Amtrak and on Caltrain, Caltrain's really going to end up, start here and end up here every day. So you're going to have commuters coming from all over the region, and downtown Salinas is going to benefit from that. But you've got to put some effort into revitalizing that center.
Well, we were fortunate. Some very positive activity began in terms of what's now Salinas City Center, and we've had a great patron downtown with Bruce Taylor and all of the investments he's made, and we need to widen that net, and obviously, like I say, it's tempting. Let's go get and certainly ag and ag tech creates an opportunity to diversify our economic base, and that would be terrific. But we've got a lot of great opportunities. And the thing that's interesting is at the end of the day, cities only collect revenues in a certain fashion. Whether it's property tax, sales tax, and Monterey has, because of their tourism and the number of hotel properties they have. I mean, they've really, and they certainly have their own challenges, but it does allow you to expand your tax base, and that's critical right now.
Well, I'm a budget wonk guy, and being a budget wonk guy, you got to know where all the money's coming from, because every problem you have to pay for it. And the biggest problem is you'll say, why don't we do more downtown or do more around the train station? Say, well, we don't have any money.
Right.
Well, how do you then create money? You can't just go out and keep taxing people.
Right.
I think taxes are kind of, your growth is going to take care of. I mean, the growth in sales and growth in property values and so on. But the tax is essentially the only free tax that this communities can raise, where they have no condition, don't have to share with anybody, they can set it at any rate they want, is a tourism tax.
Right.
Monterey County raises just the unincorporated area, which is mostly the peninsula with Pebble Beach and Big Sur, Carmel Valley, and so on. It raises $40 million a year in TOT, transient occupancy tax. That's the same amount of money that the Monterey County Foundation, with all the wealth invested in it, that's how much money they distribute. So the county has essentially the same amount of revenue as the Monterey County Foundation, and has as much flexibility, or more so, than the Monterey County Foundation in being able to spend that money if they have the will to do it.
Right.
And what they've been doing is spending it on salaries, which is just ridiculous. This money is essentially, to me, was emergency money to fix things that are broken. So, but if Salinas gets these tourists here, and tourists are going to want to stay because you're going to have reasons to stay. You're going to show them that there's a valley here. There's a place you don't have to just stay on the peninsula. And even in the short run, the peninsula people ought to be interested in investing in this, because you could show them, hey, you can spend another 2 days in Monterey County by learning what's going on in the Salinas Valley.
Well, and that's just it. It may seem counterintuitive to some folks outside of the city, but the reality is a strong Salinas really can contribute to lifting the region. Because on a near-term basis, if pursuing the tourism objectives you're talking about, if we need more properties, that's just going to take a while.
Yeah, when you think about
So
it, I
the
mean,
peninsula is where people are going to stay.
these cities that you know that are sort of the home to an industry. I was just thinking about Detroit. I mean, if you think about automobiles, you think about Detroit. Well, Detroit is not just, it's all about history. It's about culture. It's about all related to it. We got to be able to be as creative with agriculture as others are with
Right.
things. I mean,
Right.
everything's here. This agriculture, Salinas Valley, is so awesome. This is the only county in the world that can produce 100 commercial crops. 100 commercial crops. You have almost, billions of dollars in sales. It's not tourism, our number one industry. It's agriculture, but we have not linked up the ability of people access agriculture in the sense of what we could do with agro-tourism. And that's all beneficial to the Salinas Valley.
Yeah, there's no question about that. And the thing that's interesting, and one of the reasons I am, going back to the USDA facility is, agriculture is not immune to change, and growing things will still be at the heart of what we do, but the input world is changing. The ag tech revolution, new tools, all of those things are potential opportunities to leverage our ag base. But you're right. People are fascinated when they are in the fields and see what actually goes on. And the other thing is, and what I like about the USDA bill, I think it helps tell a much better story of the breadth of opportunities in agriculture and all the career possibilities, whether it's science and research, breeding. It's just agriculture is a much bigger career opportunity than folks realize, I think.
Well, I when I saw where the ag station was, the old one where the new buildings have been built, I also realized it was right next to Hartnell's East Campus. And
Right.
I said, and Hartnell has a big interest in agriculture and in the particularly in all of the sort of needs of agriculture. But the think tank for agriculture is next door. So you combine a community college with a first-rate, top-of-the-line science research center. I mean, people say, what do you do there? Well, there's two big buildings. And I was asked, easily one of the scientists said, well, in one building, we grow things that are bad, and then in the next building we figure out how to kill them. So he said, we're at the cutting edge of figuring out what is bad for agriculture and then figuring out how to rescue it or how to save it. So it's a medical building and a biological building.
Well, and Cal State Monterey Bay is developing their plant science
curriculum,
and
they're the first. They have about 50 students that are all working at the ag station.
That's right.
And a lot of those students are Salinas Valley kids, so they're going to have careers here, high-paying jobs, and learning, getting all of their education inside Monterey County.
Well, and that's really important because to your point, those students want to stay here. They grew up here. They want to stay here, and folks want to keep their families intact. And I think that's a really important thing. I was chatting with somebody the other day, and we talked about we grow vegetables, but we also need to grow wages, and opportunities. Because one of the challenges we have in this area is, we've got an ag-based economy, but we're under the economic shadow of a tech-based economy, and so that makes things more challenging, and that really ripples into housing and a lot of the other issues that folks are concerned about. But one of the strategies has to be let's create more high-paying jobs and really expand the breadth of participation in agriculture that can take place here.
Well, we can do, I think it's unlimited ability. I mean, people think, well, we got to diversify. Yes, you can diversify, but you don't want to diversify through sprawl and just bringing,
Right.
You want to diversify by connecting these dots where things are being made somewhere else that we have the capacity to make them here. The idea can be born here. The training for how to carry out that idea, to manufacture it or whatever, to do it, and then to carry out the equipment. I'll give you a story like that. We have a fellow who's retired to Monterey or in Monterey County, who's done very well in with Apple, and he is very interested in attracting venture capital. So, and the idea was use that venture capital to build in Monterey, to build it here.
Right.
Year in, higher wages
Right.
and stuff. So he looked around and he found out that Mombari, the Deep Ocean Research
Right.
Center, which is David Packard founded, and David Packard was very interested in, after building the aquarium, of realizing we needed tools to go down in the ocean, just like we needed tools to get into space. And Hewlett Packard done a lot of the guidance system for space. They said, well, why can't we do the same thing for oceans? Much more difficult because of the pressures of the ocean. So he got really interested in using Mombari as a creative center for marine technology. Well, they invented a drone that could be operated underwater. And in the oil spill in the Gulf a few years ago, the Homeland Security and everybody else was responsible for getting that thing cleaned up. Came to Mombari and said, "You've got equipment we need because we can't photograph all this stuff down there. We don't have the equipment." So they used this drone. Well, some of the other contractors down there learned about it, and Saab. We know Saab as our car bid. They also are in the defense industry. They buy this thing. They go to Mombari and say, I don't know my figures, something like, you paid. This is a story he told me. They paid $3 million for the Mombari drone, and so he calls the president of Saab and said, "What are you going to do?" He says, "We're going to make $300 million building these things." He said, "Where are you going to build them?" He said, "Well, we have a lot of defense industries that we work with." He said, "Why don't you build them in Monterey County?" So that point is, we can find these missing links and provide them here. And we don't need to kill our agriculture or kill our coastline. Because the other thing that is our biggest economic draw here is our scenery.
Right.
And scenery is our microclimate. And that's why agriculture, the history of this area, this would be the biggest city in the western United States. When you think about how deep that port is, you could have brought in big boats, have a huge shipping harbor here. Shipping began here. You could have the microclimates for tons of wonderful climate and gated, and just full of gated communities, the Palm Springs of the world. This whole county could be that. But agriculture was being done here. You couldn't do agriculture in San Francisco. You couldn't do agriculture in San Diego or LA. So the economic history of the whole state of California was born in this county, and shipping out at seas until the train came. And those two modes got the ability to be an export county. But it's saved it, and it saved this county. And so what people say, well, why do you come here? And he says, because it's so beautiful. Well, we have, frankly, by economic desires, saved the lands and not paved over it, because we were using it for cattle raising and the flatlands for crops. And by now, that has a value beyond anybody's imagination, just to bring people to come and look at it, photograph it, picnic it, and camp it, and hike it.
Well, and and again, just kind of staying with that theme of tying things together, and I go back to the naval postgraduate relationship that because when I first heard about your Team Monterey concept, I was like, I want to talk to the naval postgraduate guys and see if they can help. But what I'm struck by, because the same group you're talking about, they're also talking about what are the opportunities with defense-related industries because I think the Naval Postgraduate School's got an innovation center now as well, and the Salinas folks hang out with the desert folks to keep our deal, keep year-round, and in Yuma, there's something called the Yuma Proving Ground, which is where the military is involved in innovation and trying things, and there some of our really thorny problems. You can't help but wonder if there's some military technology that can cross over. Whether it's, can you detect particles, floating over fields through infrared and those sorts of things, or, the same sort of technology that might disarm a landmine. Is that delicate enough to, pick a strawberry? Those types of things. So, there's huge opportunities for local cross-pollination that can create new industries.
Well, in all my years in politics and 42 years in elective office, what you realize is that, my experience in the Peace Corps was probably the best experience I ever had in life, because I really lived in a culture of poverty and trying to figure out how do you help people get out of poverty. Well, first of all, you got to get access to education and health care. I mean, if you're in my barrio, if you had a wound or broken bone, you didn't get it fixed. You lived with it or died. And you couldn't read and write. And you saw the handicap that people have in not being able to, I mean, not knowing what bus to get on, because you can't read the label. You can't count, so you don't know how much money you're giving or getting back. You have no math skills. And frankly, you have no employment skills. So, and when I came back here and realized that we had such a large workforce and farm labor workforce, which I love. I mean, I lived in the Hispanic culture and speak Spanish and just fell in love with it. And I thought, I'm going to do everything I can to try to improve the opportunity for kids and families to get access to education. And that's what created the Cal State Monterey Bay. I mean, I was in the legislature and I went to Congress to get all the land for the campus and stuff like that, and lots of money. So I'm really excited that I was able to create that campus. And then you just see all these kids now that are having access to education because it's more affordable here. You can actually live at home and go to school. And the thing is, they're getting jobs and they're qualified for jobs that don't exist here. So your point is, we can build those jobs, we can make them. And the other thing that I learned when I chaired the Economic Development Committee is, if you're going to hire somebody, hire them within California. Why? Because housing costs are so high in California. If you try to import somebody,
right,
you can try to import a city manager or a fire chief or a CEO for a company or a doctor for the hospitals. They can't afford to come to this state.
right.
But if you already live in California, you have a roof over your head somewhere, and you can transfer, if you have the ability to transfer that wealth from one community to another. So you stay in the system. So the point is that Salinas is going to be developing with its educational opportunities and all these skills, the sets you've done in agriculture technology, what we have with the Ag Research Station, we have Hartnell and Cal State Monterey Bay. We have more state park. I think another industry we could develop here is land management, not just from a real estate standpoint, but all the lands that the federal government owns and the state government and local governments own. I mean, that's a big industry. We have 73 parks in this area. Some of these parks need master's degrees in order to be running them. Where do you get those degrees? No, I asked the National Park Service, do you have a recommended university? They said, we used to have Colorado State, but that's been taken over by the Forest Service. So if you want to go in the Forest Service, it become it's not. But I'm telling Cal State Monterey Bay, let's us specialize. Let's create a center. All over the world, they're going to need people that know how to do this stuff.
No, that's.
I mean, to run a national park, which you have here, and it's the only national park between San Francisco and Los Angeles.
I think you got us two of them, didn't you?
Well,
we've got Fort Ord, and then we got the Pinnacles.
No, but the Pinnacles is a national park, where Fort Ord is a national monument.
National monument, okay.
We move Pinnacles from a monument to it's an upgrade.
Right, okay.
People want to do that with Fort Ord. I don't think it's going to end up in a national park.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be. We protected it.
Yeah,
but
that's the important thing.
The point is, there's so many opportunities for job development here with people that are already living here.
Right.
And what we have to do on the government side is provide them the pathways to get the skill sets, whether it's training at Hartnell and at the East Campus or for agriculture, or training at the business school at CSUMB, or training now the Taylor building that's going to be built at Science Building at CSUMB. I mean, it's just, to me, this is the most exciting place to be if you want to prepare for the future and really help a generation that's already here, all the farm worker generation. It's here.
Well, people ask me why I want to do this again, and you've really laid it out because of the experience I've had and the opportunities I've had. That still gets me excited, and the possibility of participating in that process and providing some leadership and I can hit, and I really believe I can hit the ground running with, being help be that connector. And
You
I think
are.
mayoral leadership
I've seen
can
it.
contribute to that.
You are. You have that, and that's what our friendship developed over that. I mean, I didn't know you, and you were mayor of Salinas, and all of a sudden, Salinas had all these gang problems, and they were just more than a city could handle. And the federal government was starting to put out money, and they don't just throw it out there; they sort of give it to grants, and say, let's identify where the most difficult problems are and where there is a desire. And this is what's interesting, because you don't hand out money unless there's a local desire and a local capacity to handle that money well. And you came to me, and I just linked you up, and they got all excited about you. And all of a sudden, lots of federal money flew in here. And then you pulled on the Naval Postgraduate School to get thinking about not only just how do we spend money to do the enforcement, how do we do some new thinking about how do we really understand the root causes of gang development and gang leadership and stuff like that. A lot of the academic stuff that the Naval Postgraduate School had familiarity with. So I love your ability to connect dots and your passion and wanting to do it. And I think that I am so excited about Salinas. I think it's one of the great cities in California. And frankly, people in Salinas don't realize that it didn't start off being the county seat. It had to, and it earned it. It won it. It went out and invested money and built a train station and went out and did the politics and got San Benito. San Benito County was part of Monterey County, and everybody was sort of tired that Monterey wasn't doing anything, and Castroville wanted to be the county seat, Hollister wanted to be the county seat, and Salinas put it all together, and you won it. And you have all these other things that come with being a county seat. You also have a lot of we have more federal employees in Monterey County than state employees. And you have a lot more federal buildings in Salinas than you have anywhere else. So, and you got state buildings. So the government is really here as a county seat, and they don't talk to each other. But as a mayor, you can make them talk to each other. You've done it.
Well, that's
and you got to know where they are too, which
exactly,
is the other thing. You got to know where they are.
Yeah. No, I'm fortunate that's the case, and it'd be an honor to serve. I will say this, whatever success we had as a city when I was mayor, you played a big role in that in terms of people. I don't know that people really realize how much effective governance. It's a team sport.
Yeah, it is. And I spent a lot of years in Salinas as a county supervisor, coming here for board meetings every week and lunching here, and then coming here for meetings, and got to know it and realized I was always saying Peninsula was sort of bragging that they I don't know, they didn't brag, they just think they're better. But if they're better, how come the county seats in Salinas? How come the media station KSBW, which by the way is named after Southern Pacific, actually coined the term salad bowl capital of the world.
Right.
And then when Salinas, you're one of the first cable stations. They're celebrating their anniversary here, but KSBW is one of the first cable stations, the first television stations in California, and it was in Salinas. And so they adopted SBW, K for being a broadcaster. SBW is salad bowl of the world.
Okay, all right.
And so, and what other city has a rodeo, here? I mean, and a community college, and a train station, and an airport. And you look around and you think, man, the ingredients to make a great city are all right here.
Right.
All we have to do is connect the dots.
Well,
but you can't connect the dots unless you know how to do it. And Dennis, damn it, you are very good at doing that. You know where all those dots are, and you look into them and you say, what can you do to help us? That's the kind of leadership we need in the future, and that's why I'm excited to support you.
Well, I sure appreciate that. And while you won't be occupying a congressional role, I'm excited that your post-congressional activities include a passion for Salinas and our Welcome Center. So if the voters are good enough to return me to office, I suspect we will continue to keep working together.
Oh, great. Look forward to it.
Great. Thanks, Sam. Great to see you.
Thank you for having me.
You bet.